You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. In my opinion, the A sign of a great team is consistency. Yes, you need great players and great coaches and all that sort of stuff, but all great teams have consistency. It was a hallmark of what Nick Saban did at Alabama for 17 years. It just didn't matter who they were playing, when they were playing, where they were playing, if they were coming off a big win, a lot, whatever it may be. They always felt like they were the same team. And I'm not going to tell you that LSU is a great team. I don't believe that. But Saturday against Arkansas was a really big step in the right direction for LSU as a team and as a program. This was, like we talked about all week, a very, very obvious letdown spot for LSU. I mean, there are sports bettors that even call it the field storm fade. If a team wins a game, their fans rush the field, bet against them the next week because they're going to have an emotional letdown. It's natural. LSU beats Ole Miss. They got to go on the road in conference play against an Arkansas team. It's a pretty good team, flying high because they beat Tennessee, coming off a bye, 2 weeks to get healthy, 2 weeks to prepare, all that stuff. Look, on this show, Phil Steele picked against LSU. Lee Sterling picked against LSU. Stanford Steve on College Game Day picked against LSU. Scott Van Pelt picked against LSU. 3 of the 6 pickers on Game Day picked against LSU. A lot of people were picking against LSU because of the spot. I thought it was going to be another tense game against Arkansas because that's what it always seems to be. And what did LSU did? They went on the road and played their best game of the season. Their most complete game of the season. Arkansas went into that game averaging 199 rush yards per game. The LSU defense held them to 38. The LSU defense, which how many people have I heard say, oh, they're a terrible run defense? My counter has been, they haven't been terrible. They've had some awful moments. The 50-yard run against Ole Miss, the 75 and 66-yard runs against South Carolina. But those are plays where bad gap fit, you miss a tackle. They're correctable. It's not like you've seen LSU just get blown off the ball and gutted. And they finally put it together. Arkansas had the most runs of 10 yards or more of any team in the SEC. They had 1 on Saturday night. A 13-yard run, by the way, that ended in a fumble. Shout out Greg Penn. They had 277 yards of total offense. Your defense played amazing. LSU found its running game. 36 rushes, 35 passes. You ran it 36 times for 160 yards on Saturday night against Arkansas. Oh, by the way, you never trailed. You took the opening possession, you went right down the field, you scored a touchdown, you even overcame a couple of penalties late in that drive. You had that was the first half. Anyway, it's in my notes somewhere. You had an OPI and then a false start. You overcame 2 penalties. You had a 2nd and 22, and Caden Durham scored from 22 yards out. Oh, by the way, on that opening drive of the game, you never faced a third down. You came out ready to play. You punched them right in the mouth. You went up 7-0. You never led. By the way, every time Arkansas put points on the board on Saturday night, you answered with points. When you were up 10-0, they kicked a 48-yard. When they scored their first touchdown to pull within 13-7, you answered with a field goal to make it 16-7. When they kicked a 51-yard field goal to start the second half, you went down. Forgive me, you punted after that, so you didn't score right after that. But you did later in the game. Point is, they did that against Ole Miss. After it was 10-0, they answered every possession where Ole Miss scored with points. You did it again on Saturday in the first half. Time of possession, 38-53 to 21-07. You dominated the line of scrimmage, and when you had to do it at the end of the ball game, you ripped off a 14-play, 80-yard drive, 8 minutes and 22 seconds off the clock. Shout out Todd Politz, the great Todd Politz out at LSU. The longest drive by time of possession for LSU since the Ole Miss game in 2014. Remember the drive that LSU had at the end of the game to go win it, and the only pass they threw on that drive was the game-winning touchdown pass when they won 10-7? That's the last time LSU had a drive as long as that one in Fayetteville on Saturday night. When you're going to run it, you're telling them you're going to run it, everybody knows you're going to run it, and they still can't stop you from running it. That was phenomenal to see. A few big takeaways from this ball game. The defensive improvement is real. We know this LSU offense can move the football and score. They've done it a lot this year. But it is very clear to me now that what Brian, piecing together the context clues, they went in the opener against Southern Cal, and they played their veteran guys and guys that they thought they could count on. For example, we've talked a lot about Sage Ryan playing corner against Southern Cal. He played 51 snaps at boundary corner. Hasn't played there since. But they were playing Southern Cal. Instead of starting a freshman in P.J. Woodland, they didn't have Zy Alexander back yet. They said, hey, let's put a guy out there that knows what he's supposed to do. But look at what's happened since. You took the month after that, and you said, let's play a ton of guys defensively. And there were times it didn't look great. The first half against UCLA didn't look great. The second half against UCLA looked pretty darn good when you allow, 84 yards of offense? They took a month and said, let's play everybody and figure out who's best where. And then when we get into that stretch of 7 straight SEC games, we know who our guys are. And what has happened the last 2 weeks? You went and held Ole Miss out of the end zone in the second half in overtime. And then you went to Arkansas and you allowed 1 touchdown. In the last 6 quarters plus overtime, you've allowed 1 touchdown to Ole Miss and to Arkansas. 2 pretty good offenses, by the way. The defense is better. It is, I'm not telling you, outside of Whit Weeks, I don't know that there's a first-round pick on this defense. And Whit's got another year. He's playing phenomenal, obviously. But your defense at every level is being coached better. They're in the right positions. They're executing what they're supposed to be doing. You have guys in the right spot. You got 2 veteran safeties in Sage Ryan and Jordan Gilbert who are playing well. You got 2 linebackers in Whit Weeks who's playing out of his mind, and Greg Penn, who's a veteran dude who knows what he's supposed to be doing. Zy Alexander, by the way, they did not target Zy Alexander on Saturday. Zero targets to Zy Alexander's way. He essentially took away a half the field. I mean, you are playing good. This ain't 2011, y'all, but you are playing good enough defense to beat any team you play. I'm not saying you're going to win every game you play, but you are playing good enough on the defensive side of the ball to beat any team you have remaining on the schedule. Talked about the running game, which clearly LSU has found. Caden Durham's playing hurt. Brian Kelly said on Monday, playing at 80-85%. We told you against South Alabama, he dislocated 2 toes. That is not an easy thing to come back from, but he's still out there. And what about the second and goal from the 22? Thinking you're going to waste that amazing opening drive where a touchdown had already come off the board. No problem. Caden Durham breaks a tackle, left sideline, runs through a face mask and a horse collar, still gets in the end zone. Incredible effort by that dude. Whit Weeks playing like an All-American. A lot of people have asked, do you think Whit Weeks is going to be an All-American this year? The tough part is he didn't play a ton for the first month of the season. Now, he had a major moment against Ole Miss. 18 tackles, the forced fumble, everything in that game where everybody was watching. He had another amazing day with the batted ball interception. But it wasn't nobody watching LSU Arkansas except you and me. Everybody was watching Georgia Texas. But this weekend, best game in college football this weekend is LSU Texas A&M primetime ABC. He'll have a chance. Go put on a show in that game. And then do it again 2 weeks from Saturday when Alabama comes in. Oh, yeah. They're going to notice 40. We all notice. But everybody's going to notice. 2 more great performances by Whit Weeks. He'll have a great opportunity. Trey'Dez Green had over 40 snaps on Saturday. He had 1 reception on 3 targets, caught the 2-point conversion. Love the dimension that he gives you in this offense. And by the way, the 1 catch on 3 targets, one of the targets was a ball that was batted at the line of scrimmage. Trey'Dez was open. He might have had 2 catches in that game, plus the 2-point conversion. So love to see that. One of the things I always say, and you know it, winning mass deficiencies. So when you have a game like that where everything looks so good, it's so easy to ignore the bad thing, and the bad thing is the thing that everybody's talked about. It's the penalties. 11 penalties, all of them on your offense, 7 procedure penalties in the first half, 3 against DJ Chester alone. You got to fix that. Now, the great news is in the second half, you didn't have any. Well, let me correct. You had 1. It was at the very end of the game when the backups were in and Ori Williams had a false start. But your starters didn't have any procedure penalties in the second half. Whatever they did at halftime or told them seemed to get the focus back for the offense to wipe out those penalties. And it was everybody. I mean, it was Chester. It was Mason Taylor who had a false start. Bordelon went in and had a false start.
Mason Taylor!
You had an illegal snap. Aaron Anderson had a wide receiver had a false start. Like, that's just focus. That is not the crowd. That is not the noise. That is focus. That's all that is. When a wide receiver has a false start, that is nothing other than focus. And Aaron Anderson's awesome. I'm not criticizing Aaron Anderson. He's been amazing this year. But get the focus back when you go to College Station this week, because you can't put yourself behind the sticks over and over again. But they were good. What a day. And I'll tell you, in the postgame, Brian Kelly had an answer where he was asked about, has this team realized now what they're playing for? And he gave a very candid response about, what this team, can you play number 8? Listen to what Brian, you don't usually get this amount of candor from a coach about the goals a team is playing for.
I think that's pretty clear that this group kind of understands that now, especially, with one game on the road, and then we go on a bye week, and then 3 out of 4 at Tiger Stadium. So I think they can now sense that they have put themselves in a pretty good position. Now they got to go earn it again on the road, but there's clearly a different way that they perceive the next 6 weeks. And I think by their standards, they believe they're getting better, and I believe they're getting better each and every week. And this is a good time to get better later in the year.
You don't usually hear coaches talk about the next 6 weeks. What do coaches talk about? The next game. The next game is the most important. Texas A&M is the most important because it's the next game. All that sort of stuff. You don't hear coaches talk big picture. At least not externally. Internally, they might. Externally, they never say it. But Brian Kelly's being pretty candid there and telling you, they realize right now at this point, everybody thought we were crap after the Southern Cal loss. But now you look up and you're one of 2 undefeated teams, and the other one you're playing this week at their place. Go win that one. Now you're cooking with grease, y'all. 4 games remaining, 3 of them at home. All of them, you should be favored. Yeah, it does look pretty good. But great teams are consistent. Can you go back up this performance against Arkansas with another one on the road against Texas A&M? If you do, you'll win that game. And you'll be 7-1 going into your bye, favored at home against Alabama. And my goodness, what a scene that will be. Great performance by the Tigers. Can they build on it? They can, taking steps toward potentially being a great team. See if they can get there. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.